Well, Mondays don't feel as good after a loss. Ugh. Who still has a bad taste in their mouth? I know I possibly cannot be alone in this situation. Ugh. Gross performance yesterday from Zach Wilson leaves a tough taste in your mouth. A game the Jets were absolutely in, lost 22-17 with abysmal quarterback play. It's frustrating. And we'll get more into that, I'm sure, in the comments portion of today's stream or today's episode. Uh, but the main topic that I want to talk about is the New York Jets disgruntled wide receiver, Elijah Moore. I was wrong about Elijah Moore this week. I thought the New England Patriots would try to do everything in their power to take away Garrett Wilson, and that wasn't really the case. Garrett Wilson was fantastic yesterday. He had a really nice connection with Zach Wilson, which is going to be an afterthought because of how bad the young quarterback looked and because of what Elijah Moore said after the game. So, I mean, without further ado, let's go to the clip that has over 1.7 million views on Twitter. It's been shared a bunch on social media. Let's pull it up. Elijah Moore was asked about his on-field chemistry with Zach Wilson. This is what he had to say.
How would you describe your chemistry with Zach on the field?
Probably, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I don't get the ball. I don't know.
I don't get the ball. I don't know. Is it necessarily wrong? No, obviously. He was targeted once and had 0 catches. But there has to be something more to this because it's not like it's, oh, well, he was on the field a whole lot and Zach Wilson just was ignoring him. That could not be any further from the truth, as I'll pull it up. Here's the snap counts for each player. And here, I might have to minimize my overlay so you guys can see it. 17% of snaps for Elijah Moore. 17. He played 10 snaps against the New England Patriots. 10. Denzel Mims had 75%. He was on the field for 44 plays. Jeff Smith even had more snaps. Braxton Berrios had 30 snaps for 51%. Garrett Wilson played a career high 88% of the snaps. Something is very much so wrong here, and I don't know if this is something that's going to be able to be resolved. That's what I was rooting for coming into this game. And coming back, I was extremely frustrated with Elijah Moore's comments. I thought he handled it poorly, but after a loss in which the storyline is going to be about how poor the second-year quarterback in Zach Wilson looked, we knew it was going to be an uphill fight for anyone who is out here trying to defend Zach Wilson. There's no defending his performance yesterday. It was abysmal. The 3 interceptions were gross. It was a game that could have been had, but it really sucks when you're a young second-year wide receiver who you assumed was going to grow together with the young quarterback. It's not the case. It doesn't feel like that's the case. The trade deadline in the NFL is coming up rapidly. It is rapidly approaching this deadline. And I don't know how you salvage this. I don't know. I'm sure we're going to get questions on it, comments, concerns. There's plenty of them. I don't know how you salvage it. I wish I had a good answer for you, a plan. I'm shrugging for those listening after the fact in audio form. I'm sorry, that's bad podcasting on my part, but I'm shrugging into the camera because I don't know. I don't know what your alternative. I don't know what your answer is. I guess you move on, which is, again, super annoying. Who would have thought after his rookie year, everything that Elijah Moore did, that this is going to be the area halfway through year 2 that he's going to be asking for being out for a trade. And then on top of that, him not being a part of the offense, an afterthought. Even a few weeks ago, at the beginning of the year, if you told me that 8 weeks from now, that Denzel Mims is going to have a bigger role in this offense than Elijah Moore in the game against the Patriots, I would have said, no way. Not a chance. He had a couple catches. He had a long one, which was nice. I'm rooting for the guy. I love to see it. But I have no idea what you do with Elijah Moore. I don't know. Which is a really awful thing for me to do, is come on here and say, and my reaction to his post-game comments be, Isn't my job? Aren't I supposed to give you the opinions or the takes? I don't have a take. I don't know what to do. It's a disaster is what it is. No one thought that the Jets would be at this point, right? You're 5-3, but it feels like the sky is falling because Elijah Moore wants out and isn't being used because Zach Wilson was terrible this past week. You lost Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker. It's the most miserable 5-3 team in the NFL. It has to be the most miserable 5-3 fan base, and it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that this is the reality that Jet fans are living in. Last week on our Victory Monday, we were talking about Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker being done for the season. That Victory Monday sucked, but I'll trade this for Victory Monday. Give me the win. But no win. A loss to Bill Belichick in a game where it was on the table for the taking, man. The Jets looked good at points. We're very close to being up 17-3. A call goes the other way, JFM roughing the passer, and then your quarterback implodes. An implosion. What should have been, I guess, at that point, 10-3 at the half, turns into 10-6 because of an interception, and then the wheels come off. And the irony is Zach Wilson finally has a 300-yard game. He finally has a game this year where he has 2 passing touchdowns. And it's by far his worst one. Oh, very frustrating. Let's get to the comments because I know that there's going to be a ton of comments in here. Italy Jet, what's going on, my man? He says, sup, my man. It's a tough one out there today, ladies and gentlemen. I am struggling, Italy Jet. I'm sure you feel the same way. ZZ says more, 1 target. Yeah, 1 target. That was it. Didn't utilize him. King Joe says trade Elijah for Tunsil. I think I'd be surprised if they pulled the trigger on it, but who knows? Who knows? Jerry Spence says Zach ain't a bust yet. He's not out on Zach Wilson yet. Look, I think my stance is this. Was it awful yesterday? Of course. It was terrible. There's not defending that. All 5 starting or first-round quarterbacks from that draft class last year in 2021 have all had massive ups and downs. I don't think any of the 5 teams should say that's it. We're out on our guy halfway through the second year. Zach has a lot to prove in these 9 remaining games, but there are still 9 games left, and I want to see what happens the final 9 games this year before I'm making any decisions like that. JK says Zach was bad. MLF needs to call a better game, and the D-line needs to clean up the penalties. Did I miss anything? No, not really. I think you hit it on the head. There was a lot of frustrating things, man. What else we got? MLF can call a hell of a run game when he wants to stick to the run. Outside of that, it's kind of disappointing. LaFleur wasn't good yesterday. That's another thing. I don't want to pull the plug on him yet. LaFleur being it is frustrating though. Sergeant CVO says, why are the Jets not doing slants and quick passes to the outside? It makes 0 sense. I wish they would do that more. I wish they would try to get the ball out of Zach's hands quicker. Oreo says, I don't blame him. How did he go from last year being one of the best weapons on our offense to now Zach won't even look his way? I don't get it. It's not like he played a ton, though. Oreo, we pulled up the numbers. He was on the field for 10 snaps. He was targeted on 10% of the snaps that he played. Parlay Poppy, how many screens did we run yesterday? Not on wide receiver screen. Not one running back screen. There was a couple where they got the ball out quick to like Garrett on the outside, but that was about it. Moore can't get a wide receiver screen or slant. No, I think that's the way that you get him involved. Chris says, I hear you, Matt. This is just disappointing that Elijah can't be professional. You want out, fine, but damn, dude, read the room and know your place. It sucks because what do you do if you're Joe Douglas? Do you give in and then you just continue the notion that anyone who is unhappy can complain and get their way? Like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Ralph, Ralph. He says, starting Mike White against Buffalo gives the Jets an outside chance. Did you watch the game against Buffalo last year? He threw 4 picks in that game. 4. He had 8 interceptions in 11 quarters, Ralph. Did you not watch the game? Come on. That can't be a serious take. Buffalo would be perfect for Moore's frustration. Oh, boy. Parlay Poppy wants the floor gone. Melvin wants to see more Mims. He gets a lot of yak. We got to get him the ball. That was good. He had one catch that was not actually a catch. He was out of bounds, but it was impressive. He was able to go up and get it. Not many. I mean, Elijah Moore isn't doing that. That's why you draft him in the second round out of Baylor, because of those kinds of the contested catches that he can make is impressive. It'd be nice to get that worked in. New OC and draft CJ Stroud. How are you getting up there to take CJ Stroud? He's going in the top 3. The Jets, even if they lose every single game the rest of the year, aren't going to be picking in the top 3. I think so. Sergeant CVO says, would it be too wild to still bring in Hunt? Yeah, you made your move for a running back. I don't think you need to acquire another one, too. The Art of Pimpin' says, I'm a vengeful little shit. We hold on to more whether he likes it or not. So he's just got to figure it out. That's it. They got to find the happiness. Rhett says Denzel only played so many snaps because he was filling Corey's place. When Corey comes back, Mim snaps will go down. It's not about Moore. It's about Corey's injury. That's true. That's definitely true. They needed somebody on the outside, on the other side, and they decided to go with Denzel. And I thought he looked pretty good in that role. Wilson yesterday definitely showed his highs and lows. That was what a absolute roller coaster of a game it was, because there were some nice plays. The touchdown pass to Tyler Conklin, the first one, the bomb to Garrett Wilson, and then the absolute wheels came off. Is there any news about JD? I'm with you. Be patient. JD as in Joe Douglas? Doesn't seem that way. Haven't heard it. The only thing that I saw roughly relating to JD today was that it's unlikely that they would pursue Bradley Chubb, which I don't think made sense from the get-go. Knobcraft. LaFleur and his system got to go. Dude is drawing up plays on an IHOP kids menu with the cheap 3-pack of crayons. Meanwhile, Salah has to keep Mikey from eating the crayons before he eats his lunch. Ouch. It's just so crazy, the swings, the ebbs and flows, because in the second half of last year, it was LaFleur's. Booth LaFleur saved it. Well, really, you have to go back even further. At first, the first 4 games last year, it was Jeff Ulbrich might be a head coaching candidate. And then that pendulum swung way over to the other side when the defense went into an absolute rut. And then it was how poor the offense was. They start to get things going in the second half of the year. And then it's now swung back the other way as Mike LaFleur is public enemy number 1. And Jeff Ulbrich has his defense playing like a top 10 unit. It's crazy. Melvin says, I would take 150 yards from ZW in a win and 300 plus in a loss. In a win versus 300 plus in a loss all day. Of course. It was working. What they were doing was working. I just wanted to find a happy medium. Give me 225, a passing touchdown or 2, 25 points, and let's call it a day. That should win you more than enough games with how they're playing. V-Man says, Matt didn't like LaFleur's game plan. He abandoned the run. He did abandon the run. None of their running backs look good. Michael Carter was averaging like 3.5 yards a carry. They got to get James Robinson going. Ryan says, I'm less than confident in ZW, but the reanimated corpse of Joe Flacco or the other 2 quarterback scrubs we have aren't the answer. Yeah, I don't know how what you could see from Mike White last year and say, I want to sign up for that again. When you have the number 2 pick and it isn't working right now. I can't stress enough that it isn't working right now with Zach Wilson. But I think you owe it to yourself as an organization to see it through 2 years and see how it goes. It's a hell of a bumpy ride right now. But these young quarterbacks, they have all the time. These guys straighten up over time. Ay. Melvin doing the Josh Allen comparison. It's I get the positivity, but we'll do it. Josh Allen's 20th game was against the Pats, less than 50% completion and 3 picks. We got to let this ride out. I hope he turns into Josh Allen. I'm not sold that it's going to be that high of a ceiling, but can it be trending towards the top half of the league after this year? I hope so. Merc Life. He's a member of the channel too, by the way, which if you're interested in becoming, you could hit up the link down below. It says where it says to join, get in on the fun. It says nobody's talking about the jerseys. We would have won if we kept the white on black. That was it. It had to be it. Devon says, I don't understand how ZW can be so good yet so bad. Perfect pass to Conklin, then just stupid quarterback play. Don't understand it. It's unbelievably frustrating. That was my video this morning, was just how frustrating it is, because through the first quarter and a half, it was on pace to looking like one of his best games as a Jet. And then the interception changed it all. The first one changed it all. And then he was pressing after that. John Finnegan says Mac Jones is a bottom 3 quarterback in this league, and I'll take that to my goddamn grave. He didn't play well. He probably should have had 2 interceptions in this game. It didn't look good. Or to be fair, really none of the as we mentioned, none of the quarterbacks taken last year are looking that good right now. Justin Fields, after struggling early on in the year, has played really well the last couple of weeks. So it's the ebbs and flows of these young quarterbacks, man. Like for a 2-week run, it's like, okay, this guy looks great. And then he falls off a cliff. Remember we were talking about early on this year, Trevor Lawrence, a top 10 quarterback? He's stunk recently. Slump says, don't know how Zach making continuous mistakes is on the OC. He never hits the first read, nor does he step up in the pocket. Also, what's with the inaccurate passes on wide open wide receivers and running backs? Yeah, he's sailing passes still. That's an issue. That is 100% an issue. Way I see it, we played pretty much the same Pats team we played last year when we got blown out. We had this game and let it slip through our fingers without 3 major players on offense, I guess. But you also need a significantly better effort from number 2. I want to let him off the hook. Edward wants to trade for Aaron Rodgers and let Zach learn. If you're trading for Aaron Rodgers, I would have to imagine that Zach Wilson's going back the other way in that package. I don't think Jordan Love is the answer there. Aaron Rodgers looks disinterested this year. I don't know how much left there is in the tank there. The problem with Zach is the same mistakes. That's true. Knobcraft says, I want to know if Zach can read anything more than a coloring book. Oh, boy. V-Man says, Wilson is still in game manager phase. We need a game plan for a game manager, not an elite quarterback. Bat wings taste nice. Matt, help me understand why Mike LaFleur didn't game plan for quick release passes, considering Pat's defense and exotic plays. Terrible selection by Mike LaFleur. Where were the screens, jet sweeps? That's a fair question to ask. I also thought when they called up Strevler that he was going to be active to get in that running Wildcats thing that the Patriots struggle so much with. You just saw Justin Fields have so much success with it. Look, this game, Mike LaFleur wasn't great. You can say the offensive game plan wasn't great. They didn't run the ball well. Special teams was really bad. But the biggest takeaway is how number 2 played. Let ZW finish the season, but if things don't improve, I'd say it's absolutely fair to start assessing quarterback replacements in the offseason. Yeah, you have to. I think you have to play the next 9. 9 is still too big of a sample size for me to punt on. Great point. He, being Mac Jones, should have had 3. Mosley dropped 1. He did. Jet Life 45 says he got no confidence. He clearly has all the tools. He needs to get out of his own head and play ball with confidence. It's a big part of it. I think he's second guessing what he's seeing, and he's trying to force things. 2 of his interceptions, well, really 3 of his I was going to say 2 or 3 of his interceptions were forced. Really, just the last one was one that was really forced. The second one has to be thrown a mile out of bounds. A mile out of bounds. The first one sailed on him because he was throwing off his back feet. At least we found some tight ends. High five, anyone? Yeah, Tyler Conklin ran a really nice route on that second touchdown, too. Edward says, I bet Aaron Rodgers would love to come to the Jets with all these weapons. He may. Maybe. I don't. He seems miserable right now. Maybe that would change. You'd have to give up a ton to get him. But I don't want to get into a quarterback debate in season right now. In the offseason, maybe that's a different conversation that we're having, but I don't know, right? He hasn't looked good. Now he doesn't have weapons, but Aaron Rodgers is a lot closer to the end. Will Shea says, Zach was horrendous. Also don't love that he said the last int was just him being angry. We also ran the ball only 15 times. LaFleur was not good scripting games and is getting. Sorry, LaFleur has not been good scripting games and getting us started or adjusting. Will, I think you bring up fair points. I think you bring up fair points here. They didn't run the ball a lot because they weren't really getting a good push in the run game. Yeah, Michael Carter didn't really do a lot. James Robinson didn't really do a lot in his debut against the Bills. Probably gonna have to try to run the ball a little bit more. That's a nasty defense to throw against. And they have a much needed bye week after that too. Thank you for the super chat, Will. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Mr. Downtown says Elijah Moore obviously has no filter now. He could easily said that him and Zach need to rekindle their magic they had last year. Yeah, I mean, look, I can only talk about from the perspective that what I personally would come from. He's obviously extremely frustrated. I understand that. I probably would say we have to work. We have things that we have to work on. Something to that extent. We're going to get it going, but it very much so feels like he wants out. And I was hoping that it would change, but his answer is just not what you want to see. Sounders says, to be honest, Zach had several great throws. However, he's been getting away with poor technique, back foot throws. It all caught up to him this week. It did. He needs to step up into his throws. He needs to step up into the pocket, and he drifts too much. Those are all fair criticisms of Zach right now. I don't know if that's true after the Foxy says, I think he more sees he's stuck with Wilson for 3 more years. I don't buy that. I think potentially if it's not going well, they could pull the plug after this year. I think Wilson probably gets a 3rd year. But I'm a lot less confident in that statement today than I was a week ago. Oof. Who frustrated you more, Sanchez, Fitzpatrick, Darnold, or Zach Wilson? All of them. I guess Zach, because I think he has the most physical talent out of all of them. So I would say Zach so far the most. Is it possible that Elijah Moore's frustration is directed towards Zach's bad quarterback play? 100%. I think that's likely what it is. What quarterback vet would be reasonable fit for us? Yeah, I don't want to do that in mid-season right now. We can get into that at another time, but in season they're still 5-3. I don't want to look. We spent too many times over the last few years just diving into mock drafts and off-season and free agency. I'm not doing that right now at 5-3. You might have to get there eventually, but not right now, Melvin. Lindels, he says he calls play passes. People complain he's not giving Zach a chance. Then he runs the ball. People complain not enough passes. How about without Hall, run is tough, and with Zach, passing is a real challenge. Yeah, they can't get in their groove, right? Obviously, it was very run heavy the last couple of weeks, and it was working. I think you need to find a balance. I don't think you need Zach to throw the ball 40 plus times. I don't think you need to throw 18 times. Should he be throwing between 25 and 35 times, depending on game script? That's probably the sweet spot. And he needs to be a lot better. Please pull up Zach's stats first 2 years and Sanchez first 2 years. Sanchez was light years ahead. Mark Sanchez had 20 picks in his first year. They won a ton of games. But if you want, do it. Sure. We could do that. Mark Sanchez stats. Pull this up on screen. Here we go. Game logs, career. We will do the first 2 years of the season. Bang. He had 29 touchdowns, 33 interceptions, a 70.2 rating, and a 54.42 completion percentage. And they were, does it say his record? I don't believe it says the record. As for Zach Wilson, through 18 games, $12 touchdowns, 16 picks, 187.9 yards per game, a 70 rating. Light years is maybe a stretch. 94% postseason QBR. It's not a QBR, by the way. It's passer rating. Knob Kraft says the ref just wanted an excuse to flex his guns on TV. Old WWE reject looking clown. Yeah, there were some frustrating ones. To me, I was more frustrated with the two plays. I know the JFM one is people are most upset about. The two that bothered me more was the offensive pass interference call that wasn't called on the touchdown pass on 4th down, and Mac Jones lowering his helmet, which drew a personal foul from CJ Mosley. Jets forever, ever. I've seen all 27 of your comments. You're going to be putting a timeout now because you're spamming. But I will put it on your screen. It was Zach Wilson's time to bail out the defense. He couldn't get it done. That's exactly what we've been saying all day. Mr. Downtown says Zach has completely forgotten the basics. Take what the defense gives you. Don't run backwards. Run forward and see if the checkdown is available. Checkdowns aren't available when you run 20 yards backwards. Yeah, he's got to learn to step up. He's drifting way too much. That is a more than fair comparison. I don't know. Do we have anyone up for Rookie of the Week? They say laughingly. I mean, Garrett Wilson was fantastic, but I'm going to guess Kenneth Walker probably wins it. L Black, thank you so much. He says, new viewer, watched your videos. Great job and happy to follow. Appreciate all the support. It means the absolute most to me. And hopefully you see me in a better mood after some wins. Is it inevitable that the team gets dragged back down to 500? No, not necessarily. I think the Jets can hang with the New England Patriots team. Doing it on the road is a much tougher ask, but I'm not going to kick away that game. This upcoming week against Buffalo is incredibly difficult. The problem for Zach is his timeline seems behind this team. If he doesn't improve, they might have to give up simply because of how good the rest of the roster is. It depends, because then if you bring in a veteran, that's obviously going to cost you a whole lot more. So then what are you losing in that trade-off? It's very, very challenging. Very challenging. Thank you, Will. Appreciate it, guys. Cage says random, but I want to see Clemens get more snaps. No, that's fair. He was good, and so is Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is absolutely fantastic. Zach Wilson needs to bring back that dog in him. It feels that way. Few things from L Black. He says on 5 and 7-step drops, Zach looks decent. When there are RPOs, the defense gets through and he has to run. The play actions definitely have they haven't had success with them because it feels like the defense gets through pretty quickly and then he panics. He has to do a better job of not panicking when there's pressure. Does anyone really think that they are going to make a quarterback change this season? There's zero chance that happens unless Wilson gets hurt. That's kind of where I'm at, but you should see Twitter in the comments, man. A lot of people want to see a change. Yes, I did see that. Did you see the coin flip prediction from August? I hope whoever did that keeps being right. It was, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back and find it now, but essentially they flipped for every game. And so far they have been 8 for 8 with their predictions. Why not go with Zonovan Knight and Ty Johnson over Robinson? Because they're not as good as James Robinson would be my guess. Jack asked, why do we abandon Jack? That sounded like Jackass. Jack asked, there we go. Why did we abandon the run like we were down by 22? Zach was throwing like he needed to play hero, and play calling looked like they were asking him to play hero. They didn't get much push at all. They had 51 yards on 15 carries, which is an average of 3.4 yards per attempt. We have the bots in here now. We got to get rid of some of these guys. James says, just checking in. What am I missing about the Moore comment? Just essentially how he said that he doesn't get the ball. So he couldn't answer the question of how his relationship is with Zach Wilson, or his chemistry with Zach Wilson is. Yeah, they already came out and debunked that one, the beat. The trade, Bradley Chubb trade doesn't really make much sense. I don't see that very likely. Has Zach had the same starting 5 O-linemen in any of his 18 games? Very few. It's changed a lot. Steven says, I'm not ready to write Zach off, but yeah, we were all very concerned. The pass to that MC that was wide open, Zach skipped it off the ground. What was that? I know. Frustrating. Philly's not doing that. Trade more to Philly for Smith. It will turn toxic culture in the locker room. I don't think Philly's doing that. Then why do they ever pass, I guess? By that logic, they should have ran the ball 75 times yesterday. No, I don't cringe every time he drops back to pass. I cringe when he like does the spin out things and rolls out and drops way back. That's when I start to get worried. But when he stands there and makes throws or rolls out with a purpose, I don't. I'm excited. Good point here from William. He says, I don't think any adjustments were made at halftime. They got outcoached, 3 interceptions, sealed the deal. Yep. It was a mix of a lot of things, but the biggest thing was Zach Wilson. I would say they were outcoached, and their special teams was atrocious yesterday. Warning sign every time a quarterback has more than 25 to 30 pass attempt, lack of balance in the offense. Yeah, I think right around 30 is kind of where you want to be. We're hanging for a little bit more here on the Jet Report today. Please make sure to get in any questions. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for hanging with me on this a little bit of a somber Monday, man. I miss Victory Mondays. Victory Mondays are fun. James asked, do you think Moore is still on the verge of being traded? It didn't sound good after the comments yesterday. I don't know how they're going to get this thing on the same page. They look lost. Rob Power, good point. He needs to learn to step up, make the quick throw, and sometimes get hit. Amen. Brian says, we shouldn't have talked ourselves into thinking we were secretly favorites over a team that has beaten us 12 straight times before kickoff. Yeah, now it's 13. Hopefully it doesn't become 14 because I'm sick of it. JFM needs accountability. Look, I'm as big of a JFM supporter as anybody. The late hits are not acceptable. And the worst thing that didn't happen yesterday was that little Johnny didn't get his ice cream. Yeah, poor little Johnny. Little Johnny's electric. I love little Johnny. I'd love to see some more of that. Every quarterback looks better in the Michael LaFleur offense than Zach. It's not coaching, it's quarterback execution. I don't think Flacco looked particularly good. Mike White had a billion turnovers. Kevin Martinez says, don't panic yet. You can't ignore there's a reason why your record says what you are, and you're 5-3. Let's not panic. Good question from Thomas. Is Zach scared to run the ball? What is the deal? He never runs anymore. There were several plays he could have. The fourth down one stands out a ton. 4th and 5, he had every chance to run there, and he didn't. It was, I don't know, just all around a really bad game. Really, really bad. Why are they so dead set on staying in zone when it's not working? Got killed in between the hashes. I thought the defense was fine yesterday. I don't really have any critique of the defense. Jack says, hoping we trade for a tackle. Zach looks best when clean, but with that being said, Zach needs to stop being afraid of getting hit. He doesn't run and doesn't step into his throws. More than fair criticism right now. Very concerning aspect from yesterday that no one wants to talk about is the Pats figured out how to beat this defense the first drive in the second half. When they rotate the stars out, you run a hurry up. Yeah, I guess that was their one drive where they really looked like they had any semblance of offense. They were gifted great field position off of turnovers and off of multiple terrible Braden Mann punts. I wish I knew, Melvin. Why does Belichick have all our quarterbacks' numbers? He's owned young quarterbacks. Owned them. Except for last week against Justin Fields. Fields went off on the road in New England, and maybe you have to root for the same thing with Zach. Yeah, L Black says we are missing Jermaine Johnson in the sub package. I do miss him. Hopefully he's back next week. Worst case scenario after the bye week. I really is this crazy? I think that the bye week is going to be the time where we see an adjustment, and post bye with 8 games left is where you really see this offense start to get closer to what they are really going to look like. But I don't know. It's unbelievably frustrating. Again, just I can't stress enough how poor of a game it was from number 2. JNYC says most teams are playing us with single high safety since Zach can't beat you in the air. Made a pretty nice 50-yard throw yesterday. Would it be good or bad thing if we sent Wilson to Belichick's mother's house? LOL. Some guy says Fields ran the ball. He didn't pass for much. Zach did run. Zach didn't run. That's the difference. All I want is the Jets to not get blown out coming out the bye week against New England. Yeah, I mean, you have 2 weeks to prep. That should be, theoretically, fingers crossed, the best time to see a team like that. So Anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Jet Report. Happy Halloween if you celebrate October the 31st. We're back tomorrow. More topics to cover tomorrow. Appreciate all the love and support. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.